Guys, I'm going to get started. It's 11:01. I guess people can just file in whenever. We got 17 people in here. So, guys, welcome to this call. This is my first call. This is the objection handling call with Eric Orland. As Julie was just saying, we're trying to go hard to the end of the year, and I have Eric here to help us crush 2026. And I'm happy to have him here because, as a matter of fact, I lost a listing a few weeks ago, and when I was in the car afterwards, I said to myself, "Shit, excuse my language. I should have followed Eric's advice." But sometimes tend to go off track. So I'm happy to have Eric here. But listen, before we start the calls, let's get some referrals going. If everyone could maybe put in the chat, uh, everyone could put in the chat where you are from around here, and maybe we could help each other out with some referrals as well. Everyone, there we go. Chester County. All right.
Julio, Miami,
Julio
Florida.
in Miami, Austin, Texas. Love it. Love it. All right. There we go. Westchester, Miami, more Miami. Iris in the house. All right,
Hey.
awesome. This is great. Hey, Iris. So before we get started, we got Cindy from Salt Lake City. Fantastic. Sharon. All right. So let me do some housekeeping before we get started. Number one, if you can, if you're not driving, maybe turn your cameras on so this way Eric's not speaking to a bunch of black boxes, and it's always the majority of communication is physical as well as verbal. Also, this is a broker agnostic call. All people from all brokerages are here, and all are welcome to share. And I just want to share a little bit about what I'm doing with this call and why I'm doing it. And number one, I was really inspired by Eva and Colby and what they're doing every month with their calls. And it's really helpful, and it's helped a lot of agents. And I wanted to start doing that myself. And I've just been really appreciative of all of the help that everyone has given me in my real estate career when I switched careers. Basically, everyone rolled out the red carpet. People on this call, like Eva, like Eric and Anna, and basically mostly everyone on here, and from all brokerages. And I really appreciate it. So I kind of wanted to return the favor and have someone on like Eric, who I think I would be being greedy. I would be greedy if I just hogged him all to myself. So I wanted to share Eric with you guys. So look, like I said, as we head into the new year, we really need to be honest with ourselves and ask, what tools are we missing in our toolbox that may be preventing us from operating at the highest level we could possibly be operating at. So in terms of this call, maybe put in the chat how many people here on this call would qualify themselves as being very, very capable when it comes to objection handling. Or in other words, how well can you isolate, handle, and overcome any objection that you may get when you're sitting across the table from a seller or possibly working with a buyer to go out and tour homes. Just the other day, we were talking about technology and AI, and I love all the tools and I geek out on all of that. But at the end of the day, all those tools or door knocking and postcards or whatever means we use to get leads, it all comes down to sitting across the table face to face with another person. And we have to have the proper tools to get that business and win that business and jack up our conversion rates in terms of appointments met and appointments won. So basically on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, how good do you think you are at objection handling? Maybe we can all throw that in the chat. Awesome. Always looking to get better. Oh, excellent, Cindy. Beast, 80. All right. So again, I'm happy and honored to have Eric here today. Not only is he a fantastic speaker and coach, but we've also become really good friends. And I really appreciate Eric for coming here. Eric is a 35-year veteran in the business. He was a top producing realtor, a nationally recognized real estate coach, and has grown one of the largest organizations in his brokerage. And of course, Eric is here to talk about one of the things he's well known for, which is objection handling. And I think you'll find his objection handling skills is really almost an art. Um, and it's something that assisted him, I think, in selling, what was it, over 120 homes in your second year of real estate.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, look, you know what? I'm going to shut up. Eric, it's great to have you here today. And maybe before we get into this, maybe you could share with us a little bit about, how you got about your background and how you got into residential real estate.
Sure, sure. So I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to jumping on the Zoom this morning. I said absolutely yes to this. Not only is Ant a very good friend, but having the opportunity to feel like I'm back in New York, which is where I was born and raised. So I'm from Merrick, New York, which is right near Jones Beach. So it's really nice reconnecting with people from what I would say is the hood, right? Um, I got into real estate almost by accident. So I was born and raised, like I said, in New York. I was born and raised in New York until I was about 18 years old. And then I went to school in California. I went to UCLA. And after UCLA, I spent years living in Hermosa Beach on the beach, playing beach volleyball. I had a very wealthy aunt who was willing to support my hobby of playing beach volleyball. Unfortunately, it didn't allow me to have much self-confidence because I was good at beach volleyball, but would walk into a room and someone would say, "Hey, Eric, how are things going? What's going on in your professional life?" And there really was no professional life. As it so happens, I was marrying into a family at the time where my wife to be was working for Bill Clinton. She ran the White House Women's Office. Betsy Myers. Many of you know her sister, Dee Dee Myers, the former White House press secretary. So I was marrying into a family that was uber successful. And, my in-laws to be said to me, "Hey, Eric, it's about time you lost the flip-flops and got a real job." I was 30 years old at the time and I had no idea, Aunt, what the hell I was going to do. And my mother-in-law to be, who I was very close to, said to me, "Have you ever thought about residential real estate?" And my response to her, Eva, was crazy, right? My response was, "Residential real estate, isn't that a career for women?" And she said, "That's really interesting from somebody who's never had a job." She said, "I don't know if you've noticed or not, but as you drove around the neighborhood, have you seen the names Lou Fricke or Dana Kellstrom?" I said, "As a matter of fact, I have." She said, "Well, both of them are significantly younger than you, and they make over $1 million a year selling real estate." She said, "You may want to change your way of thinking." So begrudgingly, I got my real estate license. I got into real estate. And I think we all come a point in time in life where we look in the mirror and we do a self-analysis. And I'd walk into a room feeling like I smelled like a rose, but I really stunk like a skunk because I had no sense of achievement, right? There was no accomplishment in my life. Folks, nobody in the world makes you. You make yourself by taking action and feeling good about that action that you've taken so you can have a high level of success. So I got into residential real estate with one mindset, Anna. And that mindset was the following. It wasn't or not whether I was going to be successful in real estate. It was how successful I was going to be. I came to the point in time in my life where I was ready to swim through rivers or crawl over mountains in order to achieve that level of success. And as life would have it, I wound up getting married. My aunt, the wealthy aunt who supported me to play beach volleyball, sat me down the day before I was getting married. And she said, "Honey," she said, "I want to give you your wedding present." This is back in 1990, 1991. I don't know if anybody was in real estate back then, but it was a horrendous real estate market. She looked at me and she handed me a check for $20,000. And I lit up like a light bulb. $20,000 30 years ago, 35 years ago was a hell of a lot of money. I ran across the table. I gave her a big hug and she said, "I wouldn't be too excited." She said, "This is the last amount of money I am going to give you." She said, "You could drink it away, smoke it away, do whatever you want to do with it, but the well has been tapped dry." I took that 20,000 and the smartest thing that I ever did was to educate myself. I learned the art of prospecting. I went to every Mike Ferry seminar I could find, and I learned how to ask appropriate questions. Because if I say nothing else to you today, please listen. Selling is about solving people's problems and meeting people's needs. A great salesperson is not a great orator. A great salesperson is very astute at asking people questions so they can do a proper diagnosis of what that person's needs and wants are. A great salesperson is a great listener. not a great orator. So I went and I learned the art of prospecting. I went to Joe Stumpf and I understood the importance of having a drip campaign in place, which would take a relationship that I identified and simply strengthen and cement that relationship. I also went to a fellow by the name of Daniel Penley. Has anybody heard Daniel Penley? And I learned the power of handling objections, how to properly what we call isolate, handle, and overcome any objection that I heard. And I want to ask everyone a question here. If you knew that a bolt of lightning would strike in a very specific place, would you stand in that place or would you get the hell out of the way? I love talking to New Yorkers. I could really be myself. This is great. What you would do is you get the hell out of the way, right? You wouldn't get struck by lightning, right? That would be the definition of insanity. Can we all agree, right? What is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. Folks, correct me if I'm wrong, because I want this to be interactive today. Do you not hear the same objections over and over and over? It's ridiculous. You know it's coming. Why in God's name, if you're going to call yourself a real estate professional, would you not understand the art of objection handling so you could simply increase your conversion ratio? So what I did is I learned each and every time how to properly isolate, handle, and overcome an objection. You're going to hear the same objections over and over again. You're going to be in a listing appointment, Eva, and someone's going to say, Eva, I want to think about it. Anna, you're going to reach out to somebody and they're going to say to you, you know what? I've got a friend in the business I'm already taken care of. Thank you, but no thank you. You're going to deal with a seller who says to you, are you willing to negotiate your commission? Or now a buyer who may say to that. Why, if you're going to call yourself a professional, would you not be readily prepared to isolate, handle, and overcome? I want to ask you all a question. If God forbid, you had to go into a doctor's office and you had a question in terms of how that doctor was going to operate on a body part, and that doctor was not succinct or confident in being able to carefully explain, would any of you hire that doctor to operate on you?
No.
I'll pose another question. If God forbid you needed an attorney today, right? You're going through a divorce, you have a legal issue in your life, and that attorney was not able to succinctly or professionally articulate a message that was clear, would you have that attorney represent you? Hard question coming up. Why would you expect a buyer or a seller to work directly with you to sell their most important asset or to make their biggest purchase if you're not eloquent and articulate in being able to isolate, handle, and overcome? Is that a fair question I'm asking? If you're going to hear the same objections over and over and over again, right? Common sense would dictate that you could look at somebody like a deer in headlights, or you can, with a sense of comfortability, be able to isolate, handle, and overcome any objection you hear, which is what I said before, is going to increase your conversion ratio. My second year in real estate, I sold 128 homes. It was very prospecting intensive. And when I started, I would always come up against a name by this fellow by the name of Lou Fricke. I had mentioned to him before, young guy who sold over $1 million in real estate. This is in 1990, 1991, one of the worst real estate markets of all time. And I would go into an expired listing, and each and every time, the seller would say to me, great presentation, Eric, but how many homes did you sell? And I had just started. And inevitably, what would happen is Lou Fricke's name would come up, and they would ultimately wind up listing their properties with Lou Fricke. So there was an opportunity for me to grow from that. And what I quickly realized is that when handling objections, the beauty of handling objections is not talking at somebody. How is the best way to engage somebody? And what is the best way for me to engage you?
By asking questions.
Right? So when you are objection handling going forward, I'm going to give you a quick tip in terms of how to approach this and how to do this. So when somebody gives you an objection, right? I want you to think as if you're going to debate that person. How would you use logic or intellect to counter whatever they're saying to you? But I want you to remember, Any married folks listening today? You know that point in the time in a relationship where your significant other is talking at you and you're like, my God, will it ever stop? You all know what I'm talking about, right? We all go through those moments, right? I want you to think, if you were debating somebody, you're debating a client, right? What would be the counter argument if you were part of a debating club? But remember, you're not there to debate, because when you're debating somebody, you're meeting them head on. They're giving you their argument, you're coming back. The goal is to engage. So when you're objection handling, I want you to do the following. When someone gives you an objection, I want you to sit in your own crap. I know it's a little uncomfortable. You're going to sit in your own shit. I don't know how else to say it. And you're going to formulate, if you were debating that person, how would you articulate that message? And then what you're going to do, Anna, I keep using you, Anna, because I can see your picture. What you're going to do, Anna, is the following. You're going to take whatever response that you came up with to counter that person, and you're going to use what we call a tie down in the form of a question. So you're no longer debating them, but you're engaging them. So as you are listening to an objection, you're going to stop. You're first going to isolate. Anna, other than my professional fee for service or my commission, whatever you want to use, verbiage you want to use, is there any
This is
other
if someone
reason
asks you about your fee, like if you
someone's
can
asking
lower.
about your fee? But I'm just giving, it's any isolating any objection. What you're going to do, does anyone not know what I mean by isolating an objection? Other than my professional fee for service, other than having a friend in the business, other than wanting to think about it, is there any other reason you would not list your home with me, or you would not work with me representing you as and buying this property? It's other than. You always want to isolate. Someone could give you 2 objections or perhaps 3 objections, but by isolating, you are clearly going to understand the obstacles or hurdles that you need to overcome in order to secure that person's business. So going forward, someone's going to give you an objection. You are going to say to them, other than my professional fee for service, other than having a friend in the business, is there any other reason you wouldn't work with me as your real estate professional, right? You're going to isolate. Second thing is you're going to handle it, and then you're going to overcome it. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So if somebody said to you, and I want this to be interactive, who wants to role play with me here? Of course, if anybody would like to role play. Okay, Anna, if somebody said to you, hey, Anna, are you willing to negotiate your commission? How would you respond to that?
I would say it depends. I'm not a yes/no person. It's more conversational.
Okay, so what would that conversation look like, Anna?
So tell me what that means to you. What is it about the fee that's important to you? What is the most important thing to you? Those would be some follow-up questions.
You know, the most important thing to me is to abstract as much money as I can from the sale of my property. And I want to make sure that I'm not paying a large listing fee, which is going to eat into my profits, which I'm going to use to purchase another property.
Absolutely. I certainly think that your bottom line should be the most important. So if I showed you a way to sell your home for the least amount of stress for the most amount of money, would you be open to having that conversation?
Sure, I would be open to having that conversation.
Fantastic. So are there you interviewing any other agents, or have you already?
I am interviewing 2 other agents.
Great. And are they willing to do it for less?
As a matter of fact, they are. One is willing to do it dramatically less.
Wow. Yes. And so have you asked them specific questions like what their stats are? Have they delivered on that before? I can show you that for my clients, this is what I have done. So I would suggest that if you are going to go with someone who's willing to already lower their commission, to be sure that that's still going to give you the outcome that you want, which is the highest payout. So the two are different. I understand where your brain would suggest that lowering my commission is going to net you the most, but I can actually show you the opposite. In fact, I'd be willing to renegotiate my commission if I don't get you within 99% of your original ask price. Would
All
that
right.
be fair?
So great. Congratulations. I actually think you handled that really well. But I'm going to say something to you, and I hope this doesn't come off as being offensive. Less is more. The biggest problem with most salespeople, less is more. Watch how succinct this is going to be. Okay.
Mhm.
And other than my professional fee for services, or any other reason that you would not list your home with me tonight?
Well, I'm still interviewing other agents.
Other than interviewing other agents and my professional fee for service, is there any other reason that you wouldn't move forward?
No, can't think of any.
And if I can't negotiate my professional fee for service properly, do you really want me negotiating your most important asset in your behalf? Make it hard on me, Anna, right? I want questions. It's going to be no talking. It's going to be question after question. Well, the other agent, Eric, said they'd be willing to do it for 4%. Give it to me. Make it hard on me, Anna.
Right.
So, Anna, if I'm not able to negotiate my own professional fee for service properly, do you really want me negotiating your most important asset, your home, on your behalf?
No, I don't. I want you to work hard for me, but I think that doing it for less is appropriate. That's what all the other agents will accept.
And if the other agent is so readily willing to cut their professional fee for service, what does that say about the confidence they have in the ability to perform by assisting you in selling your home? And if they're that willing to quickly cut their commission, how readily willing might they be to cut your asking price when negotiating with the agent that's representing the buyer?
Well, I'm not going to sell it for less than my asking price.
I understand. So other than your asking price, is there any other reason? So it has really nothing then to do with my professional fee of service. It has to do with securing you the money
Yeah.
that you're looking for in order to sell your home. I
Yep.
completely understand. I completely understand. So the commission then, therefore, or my professional fee of service is pretty much off the table. What you're looking for is to net out the most amount of money. Am I hearing you correctly?
Absolutely.
You made it easy on me. What I would have done is I would have taken you what I call the hospital close. So I hate to equate one's health to one's most important asset, but for the sake of this exercise, Anna, may I ask the following? If God forbid you needed to go in for a heart operation, and there were 3 doctors that you were interviewing, and the average fee to save your life and operate your heart was $10,000, and the first doctor stood up and said, "You know what? You seem like a really good person. I'll do it for 5,000." Would you be a little apprehensive to have them operate on you?
Yeah, a little.
The second doctor said, "You know what, Anna, my professional fee for service to operate in your heart and save your life is $10,000. That is what's customary, and that's exactly what I'll charge you." Would you feel a little bit more confident?
A little, yeah.
The third doctor stood up and said, "Anna, I am the best cardiovascular surgeon in the world, and I am the doctor that you want to operate your heart and save your life, and it's going to cost you $20,000. Would you pay that, doctor?"
Yes.
May I ask, why would you do anything else with your most important asset? Why would you give your home to somebody who doesn't believe in their services enough to charge you fair market value?
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
So less is more, less is more, less is more. Every time you handle an objection, what you're going to do is you're not going to talk less is more. You're going to ask questions and keep them engaged. Why do I want to ask questions, Anna? What is the importance of me asking questions? Who's in control of the conversation right now, you or I?
Well, you are because you're asking the question.
I just did it again, didn't I? And I could do this for the next hour, couldn't I?
Yes.
This is called a tie down, isn't it? And the
Yeah.
reason I'm tying you down, because if I'm talking with you, you don't have to pay attention to me. But when I'm asking you a question, I'm now engaging you.
Mhm.
So when you are handling an objection, do not talk. Ask. Formulate what it is that you want to say, and then use it, hook them by putting a question in there and tying them down. Right? You have 2 choices when objection handling. Someone's going to give you an objection, right? And you're going to look at them as a deer in the headlights and feel really uncomfortable, which in turn is going to make your prospective client feel uncomfortable. Or you're going to internalize. I'm not using the word memorize. I'm using the word internalize. You're going to internalize scripts. So when someone gives you an objection with a big smile and a heavy load of confidence, you're able to look them in the eye and know that you've got a quality response in place to ensure that you're going to earn their business. I'm not asking you to be a phony by scripting what you're going to say. I'm asking you to be readily prepared. If you're going to make 15, 20, 30, $50,000 on the sale of someone's home, my God, know how to properly isolate, handle, and overcome an objection. It is the art of selling. the difference between somebody who is great, and I was known in the industry for objection handling, the difference between being an amateur real estate professional and being a professional, a true professional, the art comes in objection handling. That is it. And there is no one right way to objection handle. The only thing I can say to you is it is about questions, not talking, but asking. And if you want to be really good at it, simply just formulate, Anna. What would I say if I was debating, but it's got to be short, and then put a hook into it. Wouldn't you agree? Does that make sense? Like in the same way I asked if I can't negotiate my own commission properly, would you really want me to negotiate on your behalf? I've got a friend in the business. Other than having a friend in the business, Anna, or is there any other reason that you wouldn't list your home with me? Anna, you owe me nothing. You owe your friend friendship. But don't you owe yourself the best professional representation you could find? If you believed, Anna, this is going to sound familiar, that I was the agent that could sell your home for the most amount of money and get it sold quickly in the smoothest manner possible, could I earn your business? Well, my friend is my friend, Eric, and I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that relationship. I'm going to make it hard on myself. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that relationship. I understand. But if your friend, right, was an attorney and you needed to go in front of a jury and your friend didn't have the qualifications to properly represent you as an attorney, would you hire them to do their job? Because you owe me nothing. As we mentioned before, you owe your friend friendship. But we are talking about your most important asset, Anna, aren't we? Right? In the same way that you wouldn't have a friend operating if they weren't a doctor or represent you legally if they weren't an attorney, why would you not have the best person representing you? Don't you owe that to yourself and your family first and foremost?
So am I in that question, I guess I'm assuming that the friend is not a good agent, right?
Not about the friend being a good agent. The reality is that one's perception is their own reality, and you are the best agent.
Right.
So you're going to go in there and you're going to sow a seed of doubt. You're not asking for anything more than the opportunity to present what you're going to do to effectively sell their home and get them the price they want. And so they, in turn, can compare and contrast what this other agent is going to provide. And you'll ask the person, aren't you in an enviable position? You have the ability to simply compare and contrast and identify the person who is going to, who's in the position to get you the results that you want, need, and desire. Aren't you worthy of that?
Yep. Where do I sign?
I love that. Aren't you worthy of that? That's fantastic. Who's going to say no to that?
So we put together, it is the same 10 or 12 objections you're going to hear over and over again. And can I share my screen for a sec?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, let me give you permission. Hold on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to take this time and have it be well spent. Instead of going through objection by objection. So I've had these for years. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get this garbage out of the way here. Oh, real estate training info. So my entire business was run by templates, right? Every question, every qualifying question, objection handling, how to give the perfect open house, how to send a pre-listing packet. And you'll see right here, isolate, handle, and overcome. Where are you here? E, F, G, H, I. Where is this? Oh, here it is. I just had it.
You're
There it is right here.
yeah.
You guys see it on the screen?
Yeah. And I'm going to share this, by the way, with everyone that registered.
So the objections you're going to hear over and over again, right, is a buyer would like you to show them a home and meet them at a specific property. They're pushing back and coming to your office and preventing you from doing an effective, what we call needs analysis, and set an expectation. So I was one of the founders of Voto, now called Ojo or OG, based out of San Mateo, California. That was a big, big thing, especially when working leads, internet leads. You know, you're not a tour guide. You're not out there taking people on tours of homes. You're out there to sell people properties, right? You're out there to help people make their biggest purchase and dispose of the most important asset. I have a friend in the business and I'm planning on hiring my friend as a real estate professional. Anna and I were just role playing. Other than having a friend in the business, is there any other reason why you would not consider having me as your real estate professional? I understand you owe me nothing. Anna, it's word for word. You owe your friend friendship. We're talking about your most important asset, your home. If you felt that I was the professional that could successfully sell your home for the greatest profit in the quickest amount of time without any hassles, could I earn your business? Can you be in any better position to sit back and interview two professionals and determine who's best suited to get you the results you want, need, and desire? And in trusting a real estate professional to successfully sell your home, don't you want to carefully walk through the process and make sure you have the most competent person representing you and your family? I'm happy to take the time to interview and make sure that you feel confident about the professional you selected and representing you in the sale of your property. Are you available? Boom or boom. All of these are questions. It's never me talking. When you are talking, it is all about ego. It is never about my ego. It is always about how can I be of service? How can I be a servant leader by asking questions and provide value? I want to think about it some more prior to signing a listing. I'm going to say this is the most challenging one, and I want to quickly go through this with you. So you're in a listing appointment, you did a really good job, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to get this listing. The seller turns around to you and says,
This was me 2 weeks ago.
I want to think about it. Watch. And again, this is not the only way to handle it. This is my way of handling it. What I want you to understand is the questions, the fact that is very succinct, which shows confidence, and it shows that I'm well thought out. Other than needing, I'm going to always isolate, other than needing more time to think things over, is there any other reason stopping you from hiring me as your real estate professional in the sale of your property? And may I ask, what part of my plan of action to sell your home do you need to consider? Would you like me to highlight some of the marketing efforts I'll be utilizing to successfully negotiate and sell your property so you're extremely comfortable with the entire process? Yes or no? I hope I've adequately conveyed my desire, commitment, and the enormous responsibility I'll have as your real estate professional. In the event I'm not far exceeding your professional expectations, you may simply cancel our listing agreement. Does having this flexibility provide you with a greater level of comfort? I apologize if I'm being perceived as maybe being too pushy. However, when a potential buyer may be sitting on the fence about writing an offer, I assume you want an agent who's pushy enough to provide the proper nudge to get them to take action. Correct? Will you allow me to put my assertiveness and my professionalism to work for you so we can obtain you the results you want, need, and deserve? All questions, Anna. All. Are you willing to cut your commission? Right? If I can't negotiate my own professional fee-for-service properly, do you really want me negotiating your most important asset in your behalf? If the other agents are readily willing to cut their commission, how readily willing would they be to cut your asking price when negotiating on behalf of the buyer? The doctor's close. I'm sorry to equate one's health. It's almost word for word. Why would you do anything less? I want to work directly with the listing agent to get the best deal. Really important. The listing agent's been hired by the seller to sell their home for the most amount of money. Wouldn't you agree? As the buyer, aren't you hoping to purchase the home at the cheapest possible price so you can obtain the most value? How is it possible the listing agent will be able to sell the home for the seller at the most money and get you the most value at the same time? That would be virtually impossible, wouldn't it? Working with a buyer who's interested in purchasing $1 million property, they're thinking about working with a Redfin agent, will they receive back a significant portion of the money? Anything that you can identify, you could sit down and construct how you would debate that person and tie it into a question. I never finished telling the story before, and I want to use this for a second. So I lost my first, 8 or 10 listings to Lou Fricke. And it always was, Eric, how many homes have you sold? Well, I was brand new. I hadn't sold many homes. And he had sold north of 100 homes a year. And when I finally came up with, and just watch, right? Back then, this is kind of shows, if you tell I have gray hair. Back then, right, there were open houses in the newspaper section on Sunday. You would have the open house section. And I would go in with the open house section where Lou Fricke had a list of 40 or 50 listings on the property. And they'd asked me how many homes I've sold. And I said, that's a really fair question. I said, what is important to you? And they said, somebody who has experience in selling homes. I said, would you allow me to take you through a quick exercise? And what I would do is I'd open up the open house section of the newspaper, and I'd pull up Lou Fricke's open houses, and there would be 50 different listings. And I would say I would get them physically involved in the selling process by asking them the following. And would you please count the listings on the left-hand column I'll count the listings on the right-hand column. They would count, how many listings did you count? 25. I have 25 as well. I said, there are 50 listings that Lou now has on the market. You now become the 51st home that Lou is looking to sell that are still on the market. Where do you feel Lou's time, effort, and focus is going to be? On the 50 properties that have not yet sold, or yours that have just come on the market? What you're going to get from me, Anna, is somebody who's there 24/7 that is committed to getting you the results you want, need, and deserve. Are you willing to give me the opportunity to put my assertiveness to work for you so you can sell the home for the price that you want in the quickest period of time?
Gold.
These are all, and Anthony's going to send these to you. These are the 9 main objection handling tools that you want to get really, really acclimated with. This was a script that I simply internalized. Folks, none of us came into this world and was born a great salesperson. Being a great salesperson requires you to ask appropriate questions, right? None of us came out of our mother's wombs as a great salesperson. The more time and effort you put into honing your skills and learning scripts and internalizing them so they're a part of your personality is going to make you that much more effective. And I don't care if you're selling Apple phones, Rolex watches, Celsius sodas. I don't care what the product or service is. The more effective you are asking questions, the more successful you'll be at converting people and taking up your closing ratio and being able to service more clients. Want to open it up for questions, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Hey, Eric, just really quick. That was great. Thank you so much. I mean, that was just straight fire. Even with these objection handlers, we're always not going to be, getting every single one. But I definitely, this will definitely, I think, be helpful to all of us. But even when you don't get all of them, how do you handle, those deals that you don't get? And sometimes we all hit a streak where we like lose this deal, lose that listing appointment. How do you keep going? What do you do?
That's a great question. And it's something that I've carried this forward my entire career. Every time somebody says no to you, you're that much closer to receiving a yes. I'm going to give you my business. The size and strength of any sales organization is predicated by the size and strength of your database, qualified prospects in your database. Well, I would go out, and this is way back when, right? This is 30 years ago. My methodology, I'm not telling you to knock on doors, although I will tell you if I went out tomorrow, I'd build $1 million real estate business by getting face-to-face with people, whether it's knocking on doors, hanging out at Starbucks. I believe the art of selling is getting in front of people and asking questions. My methodology, Ant, was to knock on 200 doors a day. This is way back when. Again, this is almost 35 years ago. And I knew prior to knocking on a door, if I knocked on 200 doors in a planned unit development where the homes were fairly close together, I knew 100 people would not be home. 100 people. I knew out of those 100 people, and I have the numbers right here, I knew out of 100 conversations, 92 people would tell me, hey, Eric, go jump in the lake or something significantly stronger. But what did that mean? 8 people would clearly indicate to me they had the need to sell their home within a 2-year period. They knew where they were moving to and why they were moving. Their why told me what their motivation was. So I understood when they were moving, where they were moving to, and why. I also knew that they were receptive for me to stay in touch with them so I could keep them aware of what was going on in the local market. So if anything popped up that may impact the value of their home, we could take the appropriate course of action. And they were receptive to building a relationship, knowing that it was my intent to build a relationship that put me in a position to be their realtor when they were ready to sell their home. It gave us an opportunity to build a relationship. So I knew out of 100 doors, 92 people were going to tell me to go jump in the lake, but 8 would say yes. What that meant was the following. Every time someone said no to me, I was that much closer to receiving a what? A yes. Every time someone said no to me, I was that much closer to receiving a yes. And every no had a certain dollar amount attached to it too. Because back then, if I made an average of $9,000, right, for every listing that I took, or every buyer that I worked with, the average home back then was $300,000. Every no had a certain dollar amount attached to it. So if somebody told me, no, Eric, go jump in the lake or go whatever, right? It was never about me getting angry. It was onward to the next person so I can engage them and be a servant leader. I believe in my heart of hearts that our industry takes a beating unnecessarily because we don't come at it from a sense of being professional, right? I always viewed my role or responsibility of helping someone sell their most important asset. Notice how I keep on coming back to that. I've always believed that my ability or my responsibility to help somebody make their most important sale or their most important asset, that I am every bit as important as somebody's attorney, somebody's accountant. Think about that for a second. If you are going to go out there and build a real estate business, you have to do so with a level of confidence by knowing the importance of what you do. Knowing the importance of what you do, but part of that comes from communicating. I mean, it's not about talking at somebody. Less is more. Less is always, always more.
That's awesome.
When you say something, say something that's powerful by using less words. Typically, when you're out there pontificating, it's your ego speaking. To me, it's never about ego. To me, it's always about, am I doing my job and performing at the highest level? You know, I like to reflect back. Anybody ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire? Tom Cruise, Renee Zellweger. You know, there's that romantic scene in the movie where they walk into the living room and all of a sudden they recognize they're in love. One of the most powerful phrases of mankind, right? You complete me. It's really a good feel good, right? Romantic, fantastic. Everyone walks away feeling good. It is the biggest crock of shit in the whole world because nobody in the world completes you. You can tell my New York is coming out. Nobody in the world completes you. You complete yourself by taking action, feeling accomplished, and knowing when you look in that damn mirror that you are great at what you do. Do you not think that I know that I'm good at what I do? Of course, I sold 128 homes the second year. I built one of the largest organizations at the company that I'm at in 5 years. Of course. And the beauty of that is when you complete yourself, not somebody else complete you, when you complete yourself, man, it's the greatest feeling in the world because that's a level of confidence that nobody could ever strip away from you. So if you're going to be a real estate professional, be the best professional. So you have a relationship with yourself. You know, when we're out there driving in a car and we're flipping somebody off because they cut you off, it's never about really the other person. It's about us expressing our unhappiness based on the quality of life that we're living because we don't feel what we're producing or accomplishing at the very highest level. And it starts with, if you'll take the time, and your actions will dictate whether or not you're serious about this. I gave you nine different objections to internalize so you're more confident, so you come off as more professional, so you can perform at the highest level. What do you think that will do to the opinion that you have of yourself? Aren't you tired of laying in bed aren't you tired of laying in bed at the end of a long day and questioning yourself? Am I professionalism? How am I going to pay my bills? Am I as good as I think I am? I believe it's a lot easier to get up in the morning, get off your ass, take action, internalize these scripts so you can be great. You are worthy of greatness, but it starts with you. You're worthy of greatness and it starts with you.
Awesome.
I mean, I could teach you a prospecting script. It's called the general prospecting script that would absolutely skyrocket your business. But at the end of the day, what separates the professionals from the amateurs is how you isolate, handle, and overcome. That's it. I'm here to listen to any questions or comments, and I hope you found this to be of benefit.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Eva, you had a question?
Well, I was just going to comment. First of all, I love less is more. I think that it is so true, and we're so quick to try to keep talking as opposed to just shutting up and listening, you know, pausing and listening. But two things that I do to your original question, Anthony, if I don't get the yes on the listing, is one, I always will ask why. I will always ask them to share with me if they didn't mind, if they don't mind sharing with me what we could have done better to get the listing so that we can do it next time around. And then I put a watch on that house until it's sold, not until the other agent puts it on, until it's sold, because in my mind, it's not dead until it's sold because people make mistakes. They pick another agent and maybe it wasn't the right choice. So I always watch it and I always stay in, within the realm of, you know, not doing anything unethical. I always stay
Great.
in touch with that house.
I'm going to piggyback on
Great.
that and say I completely agree. So there's never ever been a time that I lost a listing, and I haven't lost many, but there is never a time that I haven't lost a listing that I didn't understand why, what swayed that person not to work with me. That's a beautiful opportunity for somebody to reflect and give you honest feedback. And how you deal with feedback is if it feels like it's accurate and it's not coming from a place of nastiness or maliciousness, sit with it and see, is there any validity? And if it's valid, see how you can improve. If it's not valid at all, you let it, flow off your shoulder like a duck does water.
Anyone else? Anyone else have any questions?
Just another thing you can do when you don't get the listing, because I'm a little passive aggressive this way, just list another house in the neighborhood and sell it for more and sell it faster and better than that listing. So, they remember you always and regret that decision.
I love what Anna just said. And if you're taking a listing, right, it gives you a great opportunity. If you're going to send out a mailer, follow it up with a phone call or a door knock. I know this sounds kind of crazy. And I would approach the home and saying, Anna, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but we just listed your neighbor's house at 123 Main Street. Did you happen to notice the home on the market? Well, Anna, the reason I'm stopping by today is I'm looking for a buyer for that property and wanted to see, do you happen to know of any friends, relatives, or coworkers that may have an interest in moving to our neighborhood? It's called a similar situation closing, right? I'm creating a commonality. Do you happen to know of any friends, relatives, or coworkers that have an interest in moving to our neighborhood? Right? Yes, no, maybe so. It doesn't make a difference. Well, Anna, obviously, by taking this action, I'm going to reach out to our entire community. I'm certainly going to identify people that may know of friends, relatives, or coworkers. Would you agree? Yes, Eric. Having said that, Anna, any thought of selling your home now or in the near future? Nope. How about within the next 2 years? Well, possibly. When would that be, Anna? The first 12 months or the following 12 months? May I ask, where is it that you'll be moving to? Oh, what has you moving to Washington, D.C.? That's going to tell me their why. And then I'm going to ask for permission to stay in contact and see if they'd be open-minded to having a working relationship. But really smart what you just said, Hannah. That is how I leveraged and sold 128 homes my second year in the business.
Awesome. Anyone else? Any questions?
You guys made it easy on me today.
I got one. You've spoken before about a flight plan. I was hoping maybe you could share that with everyone else.
Yeah, I use this analogy a lot, right? Anybody, would anybody listening to today's call ever get on a plane with a pilot that didn't have a flight plan to take you from point A to point B, even if it was just out here in Puerto Rico? You weren't getting on a plane with a pilot that didn't know how to get you to Puerto Rico, would you? If you don't have a compass, if you don't have direction that you want to take your business, and that starts again with the right qualifying questions that you ask, being able to handle objections, why would you expect somebody? Why would you expect somebody to hire you as their real estate professional if you don't know how to isolate, handle, and overcome, if you're not asking the right qualifying questions, if you're not honoring your calendar? That is your compass. You need to illustrate to people that you've got a blueprint that allows you to be super successful and you're worthy. Listen to the words, and you're worthy of listing their property or representing them a buyer. Because folks, it is a huge responsibility and you got to own that. You got to own it with every bit of your heart, right? You've got to own being a real estate professional. I know it's easy for anybody to get their license. Here in Miami, half of Miami, right? I mean, I look sometimes and I question, does that person really know the alphabet? And that's a sad state of affairs. The reality is you need to be different by your actions, not based on your words, by your actions.
Amazing. Anybody else? We're coming close to the top of the hour, so I think that's going to be a great place to land this plane that did have a flight plan. Again, thank you everyone for attending today. I really appreciate it, and I hope this was informative to all of you. I am going to send everyone who registered a copy of this video as well as the scripts. So with that, if anyone wants to maybe jump in with one more question, we'll probably wrap it up.
As you're
Anybody?
thinking about a question, I wanted to wish everybody a healthy and a happy holiday.
Yes.
Enjoy. You know, I want to say this to you in closing. You know, we're coming into a new year, and I'm not going to put you on the spot when I say this, but I want you to take your true inventory. Are you genuinely feel like you excelled in 2025? Because I think the worst way to live is asking yourself 3 of the ugliest questions of the world. I could have, should have, or would have done it differently. How disempowering is that? And what type of lesson are we illustrating for our children? We're coming into a new year, 2026. It's time for you to take off the brakes and let yourself fly and have the results. You are deserving, but deserving also comes with work and implementation. It starts with learning these scripts so you could be the best professional or your version of yourself. You're worthy.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you so much.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys.
You're always so knowledgeable.
Adriana, how are you, honey? It's good to see you.
Good to hear you. Thank you, Dana, for sharing the link.
No,
Of
my
course.
pleasure.
All right, guys. All right. I will get all of this out to you. I will get the replay out to you as well as the script. And everyone, if we don't speak before, have a wonderful holiday. And we'll see you all back in January.
Bye, guys.
Thank
All right, guys.
you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Very
Happy
welcome.
holidays.
Great to see all of you. Take care.